So as you get started creating your learning module, it's probably a good idea to have your peer review rubric, which is available in our Blackboard site and several different places, in front of you, so that as you're creating your module and creating your Blackboard site, that you've got your task list of what you're going to be assessing your peer review partner with in front of you, because that will help shape your learning module. You also have a learning module template that we ask you to fill out, and that will be a great resource to refer to as you create your Blackboard module. So you want to remember to start in your Foundations Showcase Blackboard site. And as I said earlier, you're welcome to take content from pre-existing Blackboard sites, but we do need you to use your Foundations Showcase site. Your welcome announcement, we've outlined in the peer review rubric the kinds of things that we're asking in there, but you do need to give some background about the course, whether it's totally online or hybrid, and provide some ideas to your users as to how to begin. So I've outlined here some ideas of what you might want to include, and we have lots of samples as well in our own Blackboard site for you to take a look at. Where I'm going to be working is under the Learning Modules menu item. So once I click on the Learning Modules, and this was something we asked you to do, is to create a new content area or to rename an existing content area, and this is where I'm going to begin. Now, you're welcome to use a content folder or a learning module to organize your content. It's up to you how you want to use the various tools for organizing content. I'm going to use a learning module in my sample today. So the first thing we're going to need to do is we're going to put in context as to where this falls in the semester. And we did say earlier that it doesn't have to be 1 week. It can be over multiple weeks. It's how it best works with your class. In my particular case, I'm going to be doing a learning module that happens to fall during week 6 of the semester. And I've taken some notes and put them in a Word document so that I can go back and forth to save some time here. This would be why we're suggesting you use that learning module template to kind of help shape your learning module so that you can go back and forth and take a look at things. So the first thing I'm going to put in context is what week this falls. This is week 6. You might also want to give a name for this or a topic area. In my particular one that I'm working on, this happens to be a teacher leadership course, and so this is the name of the module that we have for this week. Now the next thing I need to do is I'm going to make sure that I have all my toolbars expanded here. This will be helpful later when we go to use some of these additional tools. And if you've not expanded your toolbar before, you'll notice that you have some additional items that will come up here. So the next thing I need to do is I need to list my learning objectives. It's important that I'm using learning objectives that can be measured. So I've written some learning objectives here. And keep in mind your learning objectives also need to tie back to your overall course objectives or course outcomes. So I'm going to use that formatting cleanup here as well if you've never done that before. When you copy and paste between Word and Blackboard, it's always a good idea to use the remove formatting to make things look consistent. So my objectives, the learner is asked to distinguish and to analyze several types of leadership styles and to be able to reflect and defend their own teacher leadership styles and characteristics. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to outline on that first part here what are the assignments this week. And I'm going to be specific with dates as well. I know this is all fictitious for most of you, and maybe you have a real course that you're working on, and you can pick your due dates, but you might want to just have directives in here, even if they're not real. So I'm going to clean that up again. So this week's assignments are due October 2nd at midnight. You have 2 required readings and are expected to watch a teacher leader interview in order to complete your 2 discussion board questions and private journal entry assignments. And then I've given some information here, detailed information about what I am expecting as far as a discussion board and threads and the number of posts and so forth. And we would recommend that you take a look in our Foundations Blackboard site for verbiage on this. We have lots of ideas under the free samples in case you're not sure how and you're going to structure your discussion board postings. So that's all I'm going to put on the first screen of my learning module. Then I'm going to start building the content inside of my module. So I am going to use the sequential viewing of the module. And that's a choice that you can make if you're using this tool, whether or not you want your students to be able to move forward sequentially or be able to click around the table of contents. And I am not going to do anything about the display after or display until, but I do want to remind you that in the future you more than likely will not have things completely ready to go, and so you can use these tools to have things set to display after a certain period of time as you're building things. You can also have things not visible to the student right away too. Because of the peer review component, you do need to make sure that things are visible so that your peer review partner has access to look at your materials. So I'm going to go ahead and click Submit, and I've created the shell of my learning module, and now I'm going to start to put my content inside of it. So just like with anything else that you've added in Blackboard, you have the ability now to put all kinds of content into your learning module. So you may be adding PowerPoints, you may be adding lecture notes, you may be adding links to websites, you may be adding an image of some kind perhaps. You may have a YouTube video that you know of that you want to have your students watch. You may know how to use Ensemble Video, which is your private video server where you can use Relay or other tools to create videos and then link your videos from Ensemble to Blackboard. So there's a lot of different things that you can do. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to select Item. And I'm going to go back to my Word document here. And I want my students to know what are the readings for this week. And if you look at your peer review form, we ask you to be as clear as you can about the citations and the readings. You want to be as clear as possible so that your students know where they're getting their readings. We're going to model appropriate citation. You have a peer review partner that is not going to be more than likely a discipline or expert in your field. So you just want to be as clear as possible as to what the content is that they're looking at. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to select readings. And I could attach my readings if I wanted to here as well. So if you had your attachments available to you, you could attach those. In this case, I'm going to say that these are readings from the required textbook. And then the next thing I'm going to do is I want them to know that these readings are associated with a discussion board assignment. So I'm going to remind the students that they have readings and a discussion board that go with those readings. So I'm going to be taking some of this information right here. And I'm going to go now to my discussion board, and I'm going to start to create my forums. And I'm going to be reminding my students about what the requirements are for this, how often I want them to read and respond. So be thinking about what it is your expectations are going to be and try and be as clear as possible for us and for your students. If you're going to be doing any grading of your discussion board, you might want to consider using the grading tool. and that's a workshop in itself, but I'm just going to point that out to you as well because it's a great way to be able to isolate each of your students' contributions and assign grades and private feedback. So that's one of my discussion board requirements. And the next thing I'm going to do is I have 2 discussion board requirements this week. I'm going to go ahead and grab the other one because we had 2 readings. I have 2 separate discussion board posts. Okay. Alright, so I've got these 2 discussion board posts out here. I'm going to go back to my learning module that I had started to create. And I'm going to show you a couple of ways that you can remind your students about the discussion board requirements. So one way would be to add an item reminding them and the same thing, I'm just going to take both of these right here. And same thing, clean up that formatting. Alright, so that's one way of reminding your students about the discussion board requirements. So I've got them listed here, and then there's a note that they're going to be going to the discussion board. Another way that you can add a reminder about your discussion board is you can use what's called the course link function. And I'm going to show you what that looks like in case you've not used this tool before. And what this allows you to do is link to existing content in your Blackboard site. So it needs to exist, that's the key. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to select the discussion board, and I'm going to remind the students again. Okay, so how does this work versus the other? I'm going to turn it to student preview mode so that you can see how that might look. And when I click on learning modules, I'll see my objectives like we talked about, what the assignments are. I'm going to go inside the module. I'm going to see that these are the required readings. If I go to the next screen right here, I can see that I have 2 discussion board assignments. Please go to the discussion board to complete your assignments. If I use this function, there's the information about what it is that I'm doing, and then when I click on this, it takes me then to the discussion board itself. So you may find that you use that course link option. The trick is that you need to have existing content. Alright, so let's go ahead and exit preview and keep working on our module here. So in addition to the discussion board assignment that I have related to their required readings, I also have a private journal entry that I want them to make. The private journal entry this week is related to a YouTube video that they're going to be watching. So I want to add my YouTube video, and then I'm going to show you how to set up a private journal tool. So to add a YouTube video, if you've not used the Blackboard mashup, it is available here, and I'm going to go ahead and select that, and then I'm going to, in quotations, put in the title of my video that I need. It's always a good idea to watch the entire video just to make sure that that truly is the video that you had intended your students to watch. And I do know that this is the one that I want, so I'm going to go ahead and select this one. And I have, in addition to putting the video in here, I have written up ahead of time some information about the journal assignment, and I'm going to copy that again. I will also put this near the journal. Okay, so from here I am going to have this be an embedded video, and I'm going to let them see the YouTube URL. And if I wanted to, I could have a handout that might go with that video. So in the future, if that's an assignment that you want your students to watch a video and then reflect on that, and not use a private journal tool, you could also use this to have questions perhaps that they're going to refer to and then submit as an online assignment. So lots of ideas. So there's my video, there's my instructions here, and so now the next thing that I want to do is I'm going to go ahead and create the private journal tool. And you're welcome to embed a tool within the learning module if you would like. In the case that I'm going to show as an example, my students are going to be reflecting and creating private journal entries all semester long, and so I'm actually going to create a private journal as a main menu item here on the side so that they have quick access to their journal so that they can go to that all semester long. So I'm going to select the tool link. I'm going to call it private journal, and then from the drop down of the tool functions I'm going to select journals, make it available, and then I might move that around. And now I'm going to create the journal. And I might say something like, please refer to the syllabus and schedule for specific journaling requirements. You will have several weeks in which you are required to create a journal entry. And you can choose how you want it to index. I tend to keep mine at monthly. You also can allow your students to edit and delete entries, and I have found that to be really helpful. Students like the ability to come back in and start an entry and then keep working on it, unlike a discussion board where once they're in they really are not given an opportunity for the most part to go back and make any changes. I do tell my students that once they create a journal entry they're allowed to continue to work on that up until the due date, and then I will be looking at it after the due date and will not be going back to make any additional comments after I've graded it. So I will not allow others in the course to view the journal. This is where I want to keep it private between just the student and myself. And then you can also select grading, and I will keep it set at a certain point level. I can choose due dates if I want. If I'm using Rubrics and Blackboard for assessing, I can also select and create and so forth. And I'll go ahead and click submit. So I now have a private journal set up for my course, and what I'm going to do now is go to my learning modules, and I'm going to go into my learning module, and I'm going to make a course link here with a reminder that they have a journal entry due this week. So I'm going to select my course link function. I'm going to link it to the private journal, and I'm going to put in the requirements again here. And I may want to also give a word count. Alright, so how is this looking to the student again? Just one more quick way of previewing this. I'm going to go back to the learning module. I'm going to go to my week 6. I can see my objectives. I can see overall what are the assignments this week. I can see my required readings. I can see that I have discussion board assignments and what are the questions, and I can go to the discussion board directly this week. I see that I have a video that I'm supposed to watch, and then I can see that here is my instructions about my journaling assignment, and I can click directly on here, and then that will take me into my private journal where I can create my entry. So this was a really quick way of getting started with creating your module. It's important that you do take the time to review the peer review rubric. This will help you use the learning module template as well. Feel free to contact any of the instructional designers that are your facilitators for this course with additional questions. And we look forward to seeing your screencast video as you are getting ready to complete the assignments.